ladies and gentlemen, I am your Destiny Dad, and welcome to your review of Xur's wares on this Friday, the 14th of March, 2025. Good God, time is flying. I believe we're in week 7? No, week 6. I believe we're still in week 6 of week Heresy. And I suppose first off I should say congratulations to the hunters on winning the Guardian games. Only 3 days in. They said it couldn't be done and you guys did it. For anybody who hasn't logged in yet today, or maybe doesn't get my sense of humor, I believe there's a bug, and the first thing that I was greeted with when I loaded up Destiny today was a congratulations on Hunter winning the Guardian games 2025. But anyways, let's get in and see what our friend Xur has brought for us. Okay, first off, we have the Merciless Catalyst. This one, I always say that I need to pull these up preemptively, but I don't know how I'm supposed to know what to pull up prior to looking at his inventory. So, Merciless Catalyst gives you 40 range and 40 stability. Merciless is such a great weapon in general, but especially now. I've been using it the last few days because I just was looking for something to fill that slot, and with fusion rifles being supercharged this entire season, definitely worth a pick. Izanagi's Burden Catalyst is a must-have, S tier, absolutely need to make this weapon good kind of catalyst. This just gives you more damage for Honed Edge. There's no reason not to get it, every reason to get it. Definitely recommend. Up next for the Hunter Exotic for this week, we have Stompies with a decent roll of 66 with 17 mobility and fairly mid stats across the board. Not a terrible roll, not quite as spiky as I would like to see personally, so I might pass. But if you don't have Stompies, or maybe you don't have a roll that has this high mobility, definitely worth looking at. Next up is Heart of Inmost Light. It's seen a couple nerfs, but still sees some play here and there. 67 base, which is phenomenal. However, it's got 25 mobility, which is kind of a yikes, both on Titan and in PvE on Titan. I will likely be skipping this one, and I recommend you do as well. That being said, to each their own. Lastly, for the Warlock, we have Starfire Protocol, exotic chest piece. 62 base stat, which is pretty low, but it has some okay spikes. The mobility is not all that great, but decent recov and discipline, okay intellect. Not a terrible build. I don't think many people see Starfire Protocol all that much anymore since the big fusion nerf, but if you are in need of one, this one I think will do you good to tide you over until you get one that's a little bit better. And lastly, for Xur's main inventory, we have exotic ciphers for this week. For strange offers, we have Vanguard engrams. Let me grab myself a few of those. And then the same materials as always, glimmer cores. Does he always sell Ascendant shards? I actually think these aren't here normally unless I'm absolutely crazy, but I'm fairly certain he usually does cores and prisms. But I could just be overthinking it, second guessing myself, and thinking something that's incorrect. But either way, if you need a shard, he's got one for you this week. Strange gear offers. This week we have a Hawk Moon with surplus, fluted, and polymer grip. Handling on this is really nice, but that's about it. Surplus is kind of mid, I think. You can make a play for it in PvP, but it requires you to sit on your abilities, and typically that's not something you are looking to do. That being said, if you just really love surplus, this polymer grip is not bad, and fluted barrel is pretty decent. For me personally, I would want range over handling. This has almost 100 handling. You could easily lose 20 of that and stick it into range and have a much nicer time. But If this rustles you jimmies the right way, go for it. And we have Sweet Business. Not a very meta weapon for sure, but a fun one to goof around with. It did get better with a rework a little while ago. Most of its play currently, I believe, is just a 6-stack cheese titan build in PvP, where you all wear Actium rigs and run this thing and just hold the trigger and never stop. It's very annoying, but aside from that, I don't see much use for it. Up next is Sunshot, a phenomenal hand cannon, solar, 150, the only 150 in the game. Great at ad clear, decent at damage, and just in general, phenomenal hand cannon. If you don't have it, grab it. For the last weapon this week, we have Thunderlord. Very classic exotic. Comes with lightning rounds and rain havoc. Basically, it amps up and fires faster the longer you hold the trigger, and the longer you hold the trigger and the faster it shoots, it rains down lightning bolts. It also got a small rework to give you some bolt charge, and it now stuns overload champions. I believe the overload champion capabilities has been there for a while, but the bolt charge is new to this season. Phenomenal exotic. Grab it if you don't already have it. For our legendary weapons, the first thing that we have is the Farewell Sidearm, a favorite of mine, but Rangefinder Thresh, I think I would personally pass on that. One of those roles that I've talked about before where it's neither the PvP role nor the PvE role, and it just kind of leaves you wanting for both. Up next is Nightshade, another underrated choice. Ooh, actually, very nice Nightshade for PvP. Arrowhead or fluted if you care more about stability and recoil direction or about handling. Either one of those is going to do you great. High cal rounds, phenomenal, boost your range. You could also go more stability and a little reload speed with flared magwell. Then you have under pressure to gain stability and accuracy as the mag gets lower, and moving target to improve movement speed, and stickiness while you're moving while aiming, and top it off with a range masterwork. I would not call this a 5 out of 5, but I would say that this is probably a decent 4. It can get some other different perks that are just mathematically better. It can get Keep Away, it can get Head Seeker, it can get Kill Clip, it can get Outlaw. I think all of those options, even Enlightened Action, I'm a big fan of Enlightened Action. All of those I think are going to be better than this combo. That being said, for a dueling weapon where you just run in there and strafe and start shooting at people, this is going to be a good roll. I definitely recommend picking that one up. Arsenic Bite with Sneak Bow, moving target. I would probably pass on this one. I don't know that this one really gets many better rolls than this. It's odd to see the Sneak Bow in the right side though. But yeah, this one doesn't really do much for you. But even out of the little bit that it does, you're going to want to Rampage or Dragonfly in that first column, and then Archer's Tempo in the right. I would pass on this personally. If you really are desperate for an arc bow, I think there are just some better options for you. Next up, we have the DS side with 11 gold 1-2 punch, attack or a pen mag, smooth bore or barrel shroud, rapid fire frame, handling masterwork. That's actually pretty decent for a PvE role. Actually looking for a void PvE shotgun not long ago. This one might get picked up on my account after I double check my inventory. Next up, we have the negative space sword with energy transfer and whirlwind blade. We do have jagged and sword master, which is decent. Energy transfer. I probably would not go for that on this. Whirlwind blade, however, is good. See, what else can we get? Yeah, this thing can get tireless and relentless. I would probably not go for this role just because energy transfer is the worst of the 3 options in that slot. That being said, everything else is the best in slot, or the only in slot, considering the impact. And it's just a cool looking sword. So, if you need a decent adaptive sword or a decent solar sword, it will do good for you. This first column just is not as strong as it could be. Well, that is not what I meant to do. Up next, we have the Sail Spy Pitch Glass with moving target volt shot, particle repeater projection fuse, full bore, and hammer forged. Another one of those mixed PvE PvP rolls. Some parts of it are good, some part of it are bad. All of that being said, it is a craftable weapon. I would just as soon craft it as I would buy it. And lastly, we have a Quick Fang with flash counter and thresh swordmaster. We do not have jagged edge, but we do have honed edge, which will give us a little extra damage. Thresh is kind of overlooked in my opinion. Still not super top tier S rank kind of a perk, but worth using if the weapon fits it. Flash counter, I believe I said in my last video that this was not the one that got reworked, and it is the one that got reworked that everybody is all jazzed over. Yes, that is the one that got reworked recently. A lot of people really like it. There's no timing involved. You can kind of just sit there and hold guard, and whenever you get hit, it basically makes a blinding explosion around you. It does not use the arc blind, it just uses the like disorientation of a disorienting grenade. Maybe worth your time if you're running Grandmasters with the Titan Stronghold build and you want to run this sword specifically. Thresh will get you ability back. Flash counter is the way to go. So definitely worth looking into if that fits your build. For the armor, we have the 7 Seraph set. For Hunter arms, we have 65 base stat with high mobility and mid intellect and strength. Honestly, not a terrible roll. For the chest, we have 64 base with 20 recov, which is good. The rest of it, I probably wouldn't see myself using. Maybe mobility, recov, intellect if I wanted to go for a build like that, but I typically, for PvE, will go for resilience over recovery when I can. Class item, as always, has no perks, or stats rather. 63 base stat helmet, 10 mobility, 18 recov, 19 intellect, 12 strength. Decent spikes. A little bit on the low side as a total stat, but the spikes are pretty good. Definitely worth getting if you don't have something better, in my opinion. Lastly, we have 64 base stat legs, 24 resilience, 15 intellect and strength, and then a few stats spread across the last remaining few. Definitely a decent pair. It's got low stats overall, but I believe it is worth picking up for the sake of having some different spikes. With that being said, I am going to head on over to the Titan. I will see you guys in a moment. Hello everybody, we are back. We are on the Titan. Let's see what Zur armor looks like for the Titans this week. For the arms, you get a 64 base stat with high recov and high intellect with a little bit of discipline. Not bad. If you don't have something better, definitely go for it. I believe I've mentioned before, I really like recovery on Titans. For a 100 PvP build, I typically will go 100 mobility, 100 resilience, and then 100 in whatever other stat I'm looking for based on the build, 100 melee, 100 intellect, so on. For Titans and Warlocks both, I typically go 100 resilience and 100 recov because you don't need the mobility on them. So you can slot that into your recov, or you can do 100 resilience with discipline and intellect depending on the build. I've got a couple where it's One of my favorite ones on my Warlock is 100 Resilience, 100 Recal, 100 Intellect. That is my Speaker Sight build. And on my Titan, I believe I have one that's 100 Resilience, 100 Discipline, 100 Strength. And I believe that that is for my... oh, good God, what is it? I always forget the name of the chest piece. There's an exotic chest piece most people don't like, and it causes explosions on ability kills. The damage is pretty lackluster, but it's just very fun. Severance Enclosure. I have a Severance Enclosure build that I very much so enjoy. But all that aside, definitely a decent pair of arms if you don't have any better. For your chest piece, you got a base of 64 again. Pretty mid stats across the board, but the discipline and the strength are not bad. If you don't have something better, that will definitely do you good. I could see either using this with this pair of arms to passively give you a little bump to your grenade and melee while focusing your actual mods into intellect, or I could see you using this and focusing into discipline and strength and using this to boost up to your next 100 tier stat. Class item, as always, is blank. Your helmet for the week is a 64 base again, with 22 recov, decent strength, decent discipline, a little bit of intellect. Once again, decent unless you have something better already. Guys, say go for it. And 66 base legs, 16 resilience, 12 discipline, 10 intellect, 10 strength, small amount of recov, and a little bit too much mobility. That being said, 66 overall is pretty good, and most of these stats are useful on Titan. Yeah, if you are a newer player, maybe you just made a Titan, you've been playing for a while on another class, maybe you just haven't played in a long time, and you need some decent armor, definitely worth picking up this set in its entirety on your Titan, I believe. With that being said, let's head on over to our Warlock and see what Xur has brought for us on him. Hello yet again for our last character, the Warlock. Let's see what Xur has for us this week. For your arms, you got a base of 63 with decent resilience, recov, and intellect. Actually decent spikes on those arms. Low overall, but very much so good value for what you get. 62 base on the chest piece.
Do not be alarmed.
I probably would not go for that one myself. The spikes are a little wonky and it's just a touch too low to be really, really good. Class item, as always, is blank. Helmet, base 65. Ooh, that's kind of spicy. Resilience and discipline, a little bit more mobility than I would like, but those real decent spikes are actually worth a little extra mobility. Definitely grab that if you don't have anything better. 63 legs with some discipline. Nothing crazy there, but if you're in desperate need of legs that aren't bad, those will do the job for you. 100% grab that helmet though. That helmet is banger. With all that being said, I believe that wraps up Xur for the week. The Grandmaster weapon for the week is still the Lotus Eater, the new Void Rocket Assisted Frame Sidearm. I definitely recommend farming out some runs, or at the very least doing some regular basic Nightfall farming. Starting games continue. And it is Friday, which means Trials is here. I do not know what Shax has. And it is Friday, which means Trials is here. I do not know what Saint has brought for us this week, but whatever it is, I am sure it is worth getting in there, getting a couple wins, and heading to the Lighthouse. Beyond that, I don't believe there's anything else to really cover or talk about this week. Thank you, as always, to everybody who watched this video, who made it this far, and who has subscribed, liked, commented, all of that stuff. It truly does mean the world to me. If you're new around here, liking and commenting and subscribing is very much so appreciated if you enjoy the content. And even if you don't, I still very much appreciate having you here. Well, that being said, thank you all for coming and watching today. I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a good weekend, Guardians.